My stepchildren rejected every attempt I made to bond with them for 5 years and made fun of me to their friends, but when I refused to take them on my family vacation they accused me of being selfish. I am Sandra, 42F, and I married my husband Philip, 45M, 5 years ago. I have 2 daughters from my previous marriage, Candace, 16F, and Lily, 14F. Philip has a son Michael, 17M, and daughter Ashley, 15F, from his first marriage. When we got married, I thought we could build a real family together. I was wrong. Let me give you the full background because this situation has been building for years. When Philip and I started dating, his kids were 12 and 10. My girls were 11 and 9. We took our time before moving in together, and everyone seemed okay with the arrangement. Philip's ex-wife Rebecca lives about 30 minutes away, and his kids spend every other weekend with her plus some holidays. The first year after we married, I tried everything to connect with Michael and Ashley. I learned that Michael loved basketball and Ashley was into art. I bought Michael tickets to see our local team play. I got Ashley expensive art supplies for her birthday. I offered to drive them to their activities when Philip was working late. I cooked their favorite meals. I tried to include them in family movie nights and game nights with my girls. Michael and Ashley were polite but distant. They would say thank you for the gifts but never seemed excited. When I offered rides, they would wait for their dad instead. During family activities, they would sit on the opposite side of the room from me and my daughters. They answered my questions with one-word responses. When I asked about their day, they would shrug and walk away. My daughters tried too. Candace invited Ashley to hang out with her friends multiple times. Ashley always said she was busy. Lily tried to bond with both of them over video games since they all played the same ones. Michael and Ashley would play together but never included Lily. When my girls planned surprise birthday parties for them, Michael and Ashley barely participated and left early to call their mom. I kept thinking they just needed more time. Philip assured me that they would come around eventually. He said they were just protective of their relationship with their mother and that I shouldn't take it personally. But after 2 years of constant rejection, my daughters stopped trying. Candace told me she was tired of being ignored. Lily started spending more time at her friends' houses on weekends when Michael and Ashley were there. The breaking point came during our 3rd year together. I had planned a special Christmas morning with stockings for everyone and a big breakfast. I woke up early to prepare everything. When Michael and Ashley came downstairs, they looked at their stockings and immediately called their mom. I heard Ashley tell Rebecca that I was trying too hard and that it felt weird having Christmas with me there. Michael said he wished they could just have Christmas at their mom's house like before. I stood in the kitchen listening to them complain about me to their mother while I was cooking their favorite breakfast. When Philip came downstairs, I told him what happened. He talked to his kids, and they apologized, but it wasn't sincere. They mumbled sorry while looking at their phones. After that incident, I stopped trying so hard. I was still polite and respectful, but I didn't go out of my way to include them in everything. I focused on my relationship with Philip and my daughters. Philip noticed the change and asked me about it. I explained that I was tired of being rejected and that I thought some distance might be better for everyone. Philip started doing more separate activities with his kids. He would take them to dinner, just the 3 of them. They would go to movies together without me and my girls. When his kids were at our house, they mostly stayed in their rooms or in the basement playing video games. Philip would hang out with them down there, and I would stay upstairs with my daughters. This arrangement worked for a while. There was less tension in the house. Michael and Ashley were friendlier toward me when they weren't being pushed to bond. My daughters were happier because they weren't constantly being rejected. Philip seemed relieved that the pressure was off. But then things got worse. Last year, I overheard Michael and Ashley talking about me to their friends. They were in the kitchen while I was in the living room. Michael said I was fake and that I only married their dad for his money. Ashley said I was trying to replace their real mom and that my daughters were spoiled brats. They laughed about how I used to try so hard to get them to like me. I didn't confront them about it, but I told Philip what I heard. He was upset and said he would talk to them. He did, but the damage was done. I realized that they didn't just not want a relationship with me, they actively disliked me. All those years of trying to be respectful and patient, and they thought I was fake and money hungry. After that, I completely stopped trying to include them in anything. When Philip suggested family vacations, I would suggest he take his kids separately. When they had school events, I wouldn't attend unless Philip specifically asked me to. I was civil but distant. My daughters noticed and started avoiding Michael and Ashley even more. Now to the current situation. I have been planning a Christmas vacation for months. My parents live in Colorado, and they have a cabin near Aspen. I wanted to take Candace and Lily there for Christmas week. We would go skiing, spend time with my parents, and have a quiet family Christmas. I made all the arrangements and booked the flights. Philip was supposed to take Michael and Ashley to visit his parents in Arizona the same week. His parents had invited them, and the kids were excited about it. They were going to go to the Grand Canyon and do some hiking. It seemed like a perfect arrangement. Both sets of kids would have a nice vacation with their extended family. 2 weeks ago, Philip's parents had to cancel their trip. His father had a minor heart attack and needed to recover. The kids were disappointed, but they understood. Philip suggested they do something else locally instead, maybe go to some theme parks or take a short trip somewhere closer. Last weekend, Michael and Ashley approached me and Philip together. They said they had been thinking about the Colorado trip and wanted to come with us. Ashley said it would be a good opportunity for all of us to spend time together as a family. Michael said they realized they hadn't been fair to me and wanted to make an effort. I was honest with them. I told them that after 5 years of rejection, I wasn't interested in pretending we were one big happy family. I explained that this trip was important to me and my daughters, and that I didn't want the tension that always came when we tried to force family bonding. I said they could plan their own trip with their dad if they wanted. Ashley started crying and said I was being cruel. Michael said I was being selfish and that real families don't exclude people. They both said I was proving that I never really wanted them as part of the family. Philip looked uncomfortable but didn't say anything right away. Later that night, Philip told me he thought I was being too harsh. He said the kids were making an effort and that I should give them another chance. He pointed out that they had apologized for their past behavior and seemed genuine about wanting to improve our relationship. I reminded him of everything that had happened over the past 5 years. I told him about the conversation I overheard where they called me fake and said terrible things about my daughters. I explained that I didn't trust their sudden change of heart and that I suspected they just wanted a free trip to Colorado. Philip said I might be right about their motives, but that maybe this could be the start of something better. He asked me to reconsider and give them one more chance. He said Christmas was about family and forgiveness. I told him no. I said I was done trying to force a relationship that clearly wasn't meant to be. I explained that my daughters and I deserved to have a peaceful vacation without walking on eggshells around people who had made it clear they didn't want us as family. Philip hasn't spoken to me much since then. Michael and Ashley have been giving me dirty looks and whispering to each other when I'm around. My daughters are on my side, but I can see that Philip is hurt by my decision. The trip is in 2 weeks, and I'm not backing down. I bought tickets for just me and my daughters. Philip said he's going to stay home with his kids and that he's disappointed in me for not being more open-minded. Some of my friends think I'm being petty and that I should have given the kids another chance. Others say I'm protecting myself and my daughters from more rejection and hurt. I keep going back and forth about whether I made the right decision. So Ida for refusing to include my stepchildren in our family Christmas vacation after years of them rejecting me and my daughters? The week before Christmas, things in our house were tense. Philip barely spoke to me except about necessary things like schedules and bills. Michael and Ashley were openly hostile. They would make comments under their breath when I walked by, and Ashley would roll her eyes whenever I said anything. Michael started leaving messes in the kitchen that he knew I would have to clean up. My daughters were stressed by the atmosphere. Candace asked me several times if we were still going on the trip, and I assured her we were. Lily started staying in her room more to avoid the tension downstairs. I felt bad that my decision was affecting them, but I also knew that taking Michael and Ashley would have been worse. 3 days before we were supposed to leave, something happened that changed everything. I was doing laundry in the basement when I heard Michael and Ashley talking loudly in the family room above me. The vents in our house carry sound, so I could hear them clearly even though they probably thought I couldn't. Ashley was on the phone with someone, and Michael was sitting next to her. I heard Ashley say that she couldn't wait for me to leave so they could have a normal Christmas. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. She told whoever was on the phone that she and Michael had a plan to make me so miserable that I would want to leave their dad. Michael was laughing and adding comments. He said they had been pretending to want to come on the trip just to mess with me. Ashley said the crying was fake and that she had been practicing. Michael said they knew I would say no and that they were counting on it to make their dad angry at me. But the worst part was what Ashley said next. She told the person on the phone that their mom Rebecca had been helping them plan ways to break up me and Philip. She said Rebecca had told them that if they could make me miserable enough, I would leave and Philip would come back to her. I stood in that basement for 10 minutes just listening to them laugh about their plan. They talked about how they had been making messes on purpose and being rude to me to stress me out. Ashley said she had been leaving her dirty clothes in the bathroom we shared just to annoy me. Michael said he had been using up all the hot water in the morning so I would have to take cold showers. They also talked about my daughters. Ashley said Candace was stuck up and that she was glad she had never accepted her invitations to hang out. Michael said Lily was annoying and that he enjoyed ignoring her when she tried to play video games with them. They both laughed about how my daughters had stopped trying to be friends with them. The person on the phone must have asked about Philip because Ashley said he was starting to see how mean I really was. She said their plan was working and that Philip was getting tired of me being difficult. Michael said their dad had been complaining to their mom about me and that Rebecca was encouraging him to reconsider their relationship. I quietly went back upstairs and sat in my bedroom. I didn't know what to do with this information. Part of me wanted to confront them immediately, but I decided to wait and think about it. I also realized I needed to tell Philip what I had heard, but I wasn't sure how. That evening, Philip came home from work in a bad mood. He had been working late every night since our argument about the trip. When he sat down for dinner, he looked at me and said he had been thinking about our situation. He said he was tired of the conflict in our house and that maybe we needed to make some changes. I asked him what kind of changes he meant. He said he thought I was being too stubborn about his kids and that my attitude was making everything worse. He said Michael and Ashley had told him they were genuinely trying to improve our relationship, but that I was being cold and unwelcoming. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything that had happened, he was blaming me for the problems. I told him I needed to show him something and asked him to come upstairs with me. I had decided to tell him about the conversation I overheard. I explained what I had heard in the basement that afternoon. I told him about their plan to make me miserable and about Rebecca's involvement. I described how they had laughed about rejecting my daughters and how they had been making messes and being rude on purpose. Philip's face changed as I talked. At first, he looked skeptical, like he thought I might be making it up. But as I gave him more details about their conversation, he started to believe me. When I told him about Rebecca's involvement, he got angry. He said he couldn't believe his kids would be that manipulative. He asked me if I was sure about what I heard, and I told him I was certain. He said he needed to talk to Michael and Ashley about it. I asked him to wait until after we got back from Colorado. I didn't want to have a big confrontation right before our trip. I also didn't want Michael and Ashley to know I had overheard them because I was worried they would just get better at hiding their behavior. Philip agreed to wait, but I could see he was upset. He apologized for blaming me and said he should have realized something was wrong. He said he felt stupid for not seeing that his kids were being manipulative. We went to Colorado as planned. Candace and Lily had a wonderful time with their grandparents. We went skiing, had cozy evenings by the fire, and enjoyed a peaceful Christmas morning. My parents could see that I was stressed about the situation at home, but they didn't push me to talk about it. Philip stayed home with Michael and Ashley. He later told me that they had a quiet Christmas and that he spent most of the time thinking about our conversation. He said the kids asked him several times if he was okay, and he told them he was just tired from work. When we got back from Colorado, Philip said he was ready to confront his kids about what I had overheard. He asked me to be there when he talked to them because he wanted them to know that I knew about their plan. The conversation didn't go the way I expected. When Philip told Michael and Ashley what I had heard, they didn't deny it. Instead, they got defensive and said they had only been trying to protect their dad from me. Ashley said I was a bad influence and that Philip was different when I was around. Michael said I had been trying to turn their dad against them from the beginning. Philip was furious. He told them their behavior was unacceptable and that they owed me an apology. He said he was disappointed in them and that he couldn't believe they had been so manipulative. He also said he was going to have a serious conversation with their mother about her involvement in their plan. Michael and Ashley didn't apologize. Instead, they said they wanted to go live with their mom full-time. Ashley said she was tired of pretending to be okay with me and that she didn't want to be part of our family anymore. Michael said he agreed and that they would be happier with Rebecca. Philip tried to convince them to stay and work things out, but they refused to listen. They went upstairs and started packing their bags. Within 2 hours, Rebecca had come to pick them up. Philip tried to talk to her, but she said the kids had called her and that she thought it was best if they stayed with her for a while. That was 2 weeks ago. Philip has been trying to reach out to Michael and Ashley, but they won't return his calls. Rebecca has been difficult to deal with and keeps saying the kids need space. Philip is heartbroken and blames himself for not seeing what was happening sooner. I don't know what's going to happen next. Part of me is relieved that the constant tension is gone, but I also feel bad for Philip. He loves his kids and doesn't understand how things got so bad. My daughters are happier now that Michael and Ashley are gone, but they can see that Philip is hurting. I'm not sure if this is the end of our blended family experiment or if there's still hope for some kind of relationship in the future. Right now, I'm just trying to be supportive of Philip while also protecting myself and my daughters from more drama. After Michael and Ashley moved in with Rebecca, Philip was devastated. He tried calling them every day for the first week, but they wouldn't answer. When he finally got through to Michael, the conversation was short and cold. Michael said they were happy living with their mom and didn't want to come back to our house. Philip decided to give them some space but continued to reach out once or twice a week. He would text them about school and sports, but they rarely responded. When they did, it was usually one-word answers. Rebecca was also being difficult about visitation. She would make excuses about why the kids couldn't see Philip on his scheduled weekends. About 3 weeks after they left, Philip got a call from his lawyer. Rebecca had filed a petition to modify their custody agreement. She wanted full custody of Michael and Ashley and was asking for increased child support. Philip was shocked because their original agreement had worked well for years. The lawyer explained that Rebecca was claiming the kids were unhappy in our home and that there had been conflict between them and me. She was using their decision to move in with her as evidence that Philip's home wasn't a good environment for them. Philip was furious and said he wanted to fight the petition. I supported Philip's decision to fight for his kids even though I knew it might mean more drama for our family. I could see how much he missed them, and I didn't want Rebecca to win by being manipulative. Philip hired a family attorney who specialized in custody disputes. During this time, something interesting happened. Candace came to me with information she had gotten from a friend at school. Candace's friend Sarah is Ashley's age and goes to the same school. Sarah told Candace that Ashley had been bragging about how she had gotten rid of me and that her parents were going to get back together. According to Sarah, Ashley had been telling people that her mom and dad were talking about reconciling and that I was just a temporary obstacle. Ashley had also been saying that her plan to make me miserable had worked perfectly and that I was probably going to leave Philip soon. I told Philip about this conversation, and he was even more angry. He said it confirmed that Michael and Ashley had been manipulating the situation from the beginning. He also said it explained why Rebecca was being so difficult about custody. She was hoping to use the kids to get him back. Philip decided to reach out to Michael and Ashley one more time before the custody hearing. He drove to Rebecca's house and asked to speak with them. Rebecca tried to prevent him from seeing them, but he reminded her that he still had legal rights as their father. The conversation with his kids was eye-opening. When Philip confronted them about their plan to break up our marriage, they admitted to it. Ashley said she had never wanted him to remarry and that she had been hoping he would get back together with Rebecca. Michael said they had been testing me to see if I really cared about them, and when I failed their tests, they decided I wasn't worth having as a stepmother. Philip tried to explain that their behavior had been hurtful and unfair, but they didn't seem to understand. Ashley said I had never tried hard enough to be part of their family. Michael said I had always favored my own daughters and that they could tell I didn't really want them around. Philip was frustrated because he felt like they weren't listening to him. He told them that I had tried for years to build a relationship with them and that they had rejected every attempt. He said their behavior had been cruel and that they owed me an apology. The conversation ended badly. Ashley started crying and said Philip was choosing me over them. Michael said he was disappointed in his dad for not understanding their side. They both said they were happier living with their mom and didn't want to come back to our house. Philip came home that night and told me about the conversation. He said he felt like he had failed as a father and that he didn't know how to fix the situation. He was also angry at Rebecca for encouraging their behavior and for trying to use the kids to manipulate him. The custody hearing was scheduled for last week. Philip's lawyer had prepared a strong case showing that the kids' decision to leave was based on manipulation rather than legitimate concerns about their welfare. We had documentation of their behavior and evidence of Rebecca's involvement in their plan. The day before the hearing, something unexpected happened. Michael called Philip and said he wanted to talk. Philip was hopeful that his son was ready to work things out. They met at a restaurant near Rebecca's house. Michael told Philip that he had been thinking about their conversation and that he realized they had been unfair to me. He said he missed living with his dad and that he was tired of the drama with his mom. He also said Ashley was struggling with the situation and that she missed Philip too. Philip was encouraged by this conversation and hoped it meant his kids were ready to come home. But then Michael said something that changed everything. He told Philip that he and Ashley would be willing to come back, but only if I moved out. He said they would never be comfortable living with me and that they thought Philip would be happier without me. Philip was shocked. He told Michael that he loved me and that he wasn't going to choose between his kids and his wife. He said they needed to find a way to coexist as a family or the current arrangement would have to continue. Michael said he understood, but that he didn't think things would ever work out with me in the picture. He said he and Ashley had talked about it and that they both felt like Philip had changed since he married me. He said they wanted their old dad back. Philip came home and told me about this conversation. He was torn between his love for his kids and his commitment to our marriage. He asked me what I thought he should do, and I told him I didn't want him to have to choose between us. But I also told him that I wasn't willing to be the scapegoat for his kids' behavior anymore. I said if they wanted to blame me for all their problems, then maybe it was better if we lived separately. I suggested that maybe Philip could get his own place and the kids could live with him part-time while I stayed in our house with my daughters. Philip didn't like this idea. He said he didn't want to split up our family and that he believed we could work things out if everyone was willing to try. He said he was going to proceed with the custody hearing and fight for his right to see his kids. The hearing was yesterday. Philip's lawyer presented our case, and Rebecca's lawyer presented theirs. The judge listened to both sides and asked questions about the kids' living situation and their reasons for wanting to stay with their mother. The judge decided to order a custody evaluation. A social worker will interview all of us, including Michael and Ashley, and make a recommendation about what's in the best interests of the kids. The process will take about 2 months. Philip is frustrated because he wants to see his kids now, but he's hopeful that the evaluation will show that he's a good father and that the kids' decision to leave was based on manipulation rather than legitimate concerns. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Part of me hopes the kids will realize they've been wrong and want to come home. But another part of me wonders if too much damage has been done for us to ever be a real family. Either way, I'm committed to supporting Philip through this process, even if it means more drama and conflict. Update 3: I wanted to give everyone a final update on my situation. The custody evaluation is complete, and we got the results last week. The outcome wasn't what any of us expected. The social worker spent 2 months interviewing all of us separately and together. She talked to Michael and Ashley multiple times, and also interviewed Philip, me, Rebecca, and my daughters. She observed our home and Rebecca's home, and talked to teachers and other people who knew the family. The social worker's report was detailed and honest. She concluded that Michael and Ashley had been manipulated by their mother, but that they had also made their own choices about how to treat me and my daughters. She said the kids have legitimate concerns about feeling like outsiders in our home, but that they had handled those concerns in destructive ways. The report also criticized Rebecca for encouraging the kids to sabotage my marriage. The social worker said Rebecca had put her own desire to reconcile with Philip ahead of what was best for the children. She recommended that Rebecca attend co-parenting counseling and that all communication between her and Philip go through a third party. But the most important finding was about the kids themselves. The social worker said that Michael and Ashley had developed a pattern of manipulative behavior that went beyond just trying to break up my marriage. She said they had been testing boundaries and using emotional manipulation to get their way in other areas of their lives too. The social worker recommended that Michael and Ashley continue living with Rebecca for now, but that they should have supervised visits with Philip until they could demonstrate more appropriate behavior. She also recommended that the kids attend counseling to help them process their feelings about the divorce and remarriage. Philip was disappointed that he couldn't have his kids back right away, but he understood the reasoning. He agreed to the supervised visits and said he hoped that counseling would help Michael and Ashley learn better ways to handle their emotions. The first supervised visit was 2 weeks ago. Philip met with Michael and Ashley at a family center where a counselor was present. The visit was awkward and tense. The kids were polite but distant, and Philip could tell they were angry about the custody evaluation results. Ashley accused Philip of turning the social worker against them. Michael said they felt betrayed because Philip had shared private family information with strangers. Philip tried to explain that he had only been honest about what had happened, but they didn't want to listen. The counselor who supervised the visit told Philip that it was normal for kids to be angry at first and that it might take time for them to understand that the evaluation was meant to help them, not punish them. She said the kids needed to learn that their actions had consequences and that they couldn't manipulate their way out of problems. Philip has had 3 supervised visits so far. Each one has been slightly better than the last, but progress is slow. Michael and Ashley are still angry and blame everyone but themselves for the situation. They haven't asked about me or my daughters, and Philip says they changed the subject when he mentions our family. Rebecca has been difficult about the co-parenting counseling. She attended the first session but argued with the counselor about the evaluation results. She insisted that she had only been trying to help her kids and that the social worker had misunderstood the situation. The counselor told Philip that Rebecca was not taking responsibility for her role in the problems. Meanwhile, things at home have been much calmer. My daughters are happier without the constant tension, and Philip is slowly adjusting to the new reality. He's still sad about the situation with his kids, but he's also relieved that the truth finally came out. Philip and I have been going to couples counseling to work through the impact this situation has had on our marriage. The counselor has helped us understand that we both made mistakes but that we can learn from them and move forward. Philip has apologized for not believing me sooner about his kids' behavior, and I've worked on being more patient with his grief over losing his relationship with them. Last week, something happened that gave me hope. Candace told me that she had run into Ashley at the mall. Ashley approached her and said she wanted to talk. Candace was nervous but agreed to listen. Ashley told Candace that she had been thinking about everything that had happened. She said she realized that she had been mean to Candace and Lily for no good reason. She said she was sorry for rejecting their attempts to be friends and that she missed having other kids to hang out with. Candace asked Ashley why she had been so hostile toward our family. Ashley said she had been scared that if she got close to us, she would be betraying her mother. She said Rebecca had always told her and Michael that they needed to stick together and not let anyone else become important to them. Ashley also said that she had been jealous of Candace and Lily because they seemed so comfortable with Philip. She said she was worried that Philip loved them more than he loved her and Michael. Candace told her that Philip talked about his kids all the time and that it was obvious he missed them. The conversation ended with Ashley asking Candace to tell me that she was sorry for being so mean. She said she didn't know if she was ready to come home yet, but that she wanted me to know she regretted her behavior. When Candace told me about this conversation, I was surprised. It was the first sign that Ashley might be starting to understand how her actions had affected other people. I told Candace to let Ashley know that I appreciated the apology and that I hoped she would continue to work on understanding her feelings. I don't know if Michael and Ashley will ever be ready to come home and try to be a real family with us. The damage that's been done might be too extensive to repair. But I'm hopeful that they'll at least be able to have a healthy relationship with their father again. Philip is taking things one day at a time. He's committed to the supervised visits and is hopeful that counseling will help his kids learn better ways to handle their emotions. He's also committed to our marriage and to being a good stepfather to Candace and Lily. As for me, I'm done trying to force relationships that aren't meant to be. If Michael and Ashley decide they want to come home someday, I'll be open to trying again. But I won't sacrifice my own well-being or my daughter's happiness to chase after people who don't want us in their lives. The whole experience has taught me that blended families are complicated and that love alone isn't always enough to make them work. Sometimes the best thing you can do is accept the reality of your situation and focus on the relationships that do bring joy and peace to your life. For now, that means focusing on my marriage to Philip and my relationship with Candace and Lily. If Michael and Ashley want to be part of our family in the future, they'll have to prove that they're ready to treat all of us with respect and kindness. Until then, I'm content with the family I have.